Hey guys, this is Paul Savet out here in Bangkok, Thailand. What we're going to do today, we're going to get our messy manuscript formatted into a perfect ebook. And the first thing we got to do, we're going to start in our word processing software. I use Microsoft Word 2007. I just got my novella, America Goes On, back from the editor, and I'm looking at it, and everything's good. All the content's good. It's kind of roughly laid out where I want it to. I've got like the title and copyright up here, and then it goes into the chapters, and I got some stuff on the bottom too. But the formatting, oh my god, it's just terrible. Look at this, it's a mess. Like here we've got like a first line indent, we've got like a random line break here. This is like a different font. This is double spaced. I mean, this just sucks, right? If we tried to sell this, our readers would punch us in the face. They just punch us in the face. So what we got to do, we're going to get this all formatted up. First thing we got to do, we got to make sure the fancy characters are in our Word document. The readers like the fancy characters. That's like the curled quotes, the N dashes, the M dashes, things like that. What we do first, we want to make sure we enable auto formatting. So you click the little Windows icon here, and then Word options, and it pulls up this window. And what you want to do is click on proofing and then autocorrect options, and then there's some tabs here. So in the auto format, you want to make sure you've got straight quotes with smart quotes, and the hyphens with the dash. That's good. And also make sure it's on the auto format as you type as well. Okay, and so what we're going to do, we're going to use Microsoft Word's kind of internal features to add all these fancy quotes. And we can do that. We can hit Control H, the Find and Replace window. We're going to hit a double quotation mark and replace with a double quotation mark. And what that's going to do, it's going to go through all of the document, and it's going to add a fancy quote around everything. Now we also need to do that for the apostrophes and the single quotes as well. And we'll just replace all there, and that's good. Now, some other things we got to do. We want to make sure we have our ellipses correct. That's the three periods. And what you can do, you can replace that. You can Control Alt period. And that'll give you a proper ellipses character instead of just three periods. It's just like one big character. So we'll do that. Also, we want to make sure we get the M dash. That's like this double hyphen thing. What you do, you type find what, two hyphens, and then replace with, that's an M dash. I copied that from a text file. You can download it on my website, check it out. Okay, so we'll replace those. And we also want to replace with the N dash. The N dash is like when you have like a space, hyphen, space. You want to replace it with like a space, N dash, space. Important stuff, right? Okay. Now what we got to do, we want to go through our document and make sure we have, see I have like some italicized text in here, and I want to make sure that it gets wrapped with placeholder tags, because once we take it into our text editor, you're going to lose everything. You're going to lose all the formatting and everything on there. So what we got to do, we got to make sure we have a way to preserve our italicized, bold, and underlined text. Now, a lot of the chapter headings, those are bold, but don't worry too much about those. We just want to preserve like stuff within the content, stuff we're going to miss. We'll go back and do the bolds on the chapter headings later. So what we can do there, we can add these special placeholder tags. That's kind of how I like to do it. So if you hit Control H, and when you find what, if you hit Control I, you'll see it comes up font italic, font italic. That's good. So it's going to find any font, and what it's going to do, I'm going to replace this with this special replacement string. And what this is, it's just like a bunch of Q's, right? And then this caret symbol and ampersand, what that does is it points to whatever's it finds italicized text, and it'll put these Q tags around it. So if you go through it like that, you can see you replace it. And then what that does is you can see it's placed these like Q tags around there, and we're going to do that for bold and underlined text as well. The next thing we got to do is we've got to find all the hyperlinks that we've possibly put in our word processing document. What happens when you copy the document in the word processor into the text editor? You lose the actual hyperlink information. You won't lose the actual text, Like I wouldn't lose PAUL, but I would lose the hyperlink inside here. And a way to easily access the hyperlink, you can hit Alt F9, Alt F9, and what that'll do is pull up the what's actually inside the hyperlink. This is called a field view. So what you can do is, as a placeholder, you can turn off your auto formatting settings. And then what you can do is you can actually add the HTML around each hyperlink in anticipation for what you got to do when you code inside XHTML. So I'm going to turn off my auto formatting options here, and I'm just going to go through each hyperlink, copy there, and I'm going to add in the actual HTML code because I know later on I'm going to need it in there. And you just add it kind of like that. And you can turn off the field view with Alt F9, and you'll see it's kind of looks like an XHTML tag wrapped around my hyperlink, and that'll be useful in the future. Now to go from one hyperlink to the next, you can hit F11 or Shift F11 to go backwards. And we're going to fix up each hyperlink like that before we take it to our text editor. So now that we've fixed up our hyperlinks, we're going to take our entire document from a word processor and we're going to copy it into the text editor. And what this is going to do is just going to destroy all the formatting and corruption that's inherent inside word processors. But that's good. That's what we want. So you can hit Control A, Control C, and then you pull up a text editor. I like to use Notepad++. It's free. It's pretty nice. And one thing you might want to do, you want to check up here encoding and encode in UTF-8, and then you hit Control V. Alright, so we've got our document here. Now what you'll see is every paragraph is just one long massive line, and that doesn't look good to read right now, but what happens is the way when we code the XHTML and the way the web browsers and e-readers see this, it'll actually look real good. But one thing that's not good is these blank lines here and spaces in front of paragraphs, and this is because the formatting was all messed up inside our word processing program. So what we can do is first we want to get rid of all tabs. We don't want any tabs anywhere in the document. Most e-readers do not support tabs. So what you can do is you hit Control H, and then you make sure you're on this search mode extended, and you can actually search for tabs by typing /T, and I'm just going to replace it with a blank line. So look, I found one, so we're going to replace it with just nothing. But we can just replace all. There we go. Okay, next thing we want to do, we want to delete spaces before and after lines. A lot of times, you'll accidentally leave a few spaces at the end of a paragraph or before a paragraph maybe. There's a few spaces here and there's a couple over here. We want to get rid of those. What you can do is Notepad++ has a pretty cool feature. You hit Edit, and then you go Blank Operations, and then you go Trim Leading and Trailing Space. And what that does, it just takes out any spaces before or after any paragraph. Now what we want to do, we want to get rid of all these blank lines. It just looks sloppy inside the XHTML code. So what you can do is, if you hit Control H and you type in /N/R, and you just replace it with a blank, what you'll see is it goes through every blank line in your document, and you can just actually just replace all, and it'll take out all blank lines in your document. It's a really nice feature. Sometimes it doesn't take out the very last line, but you can just take that out yourself. Next thing we want to do, I have a bad habit. I'm one of these guys that's grew up, a long time ago, and my teachers used to teach me to put 2 spaces after every period. I don't know, it's something from the days of old typewriters. So we don't want anything like that. So we want to check for any double spaces. So if you hit Control H and you press the space bar twice and then press it once down here, We'll just see if we have any left. Oh, I guess I had one, so that's good. We took that out. Um, and Now that we go through, we make sure all the white space is gone and it's a nice clean document. Now what we want to do, we have to find like weird special characters. Special characters are things that are like not on your keyboard, and but like they're like the fancy I and naive, things like that. Those can create problems inside e-readers. They'll show up as like question marks or like diamonds and other weird stuff like that. So we don't want anything like that, because it's just going to look terrible to the reader. So what we can do is there's this thing called regular expressions. They're kind of like this nerdy programmer thing. If you don't understand what these are, don't worry about it. You can just copy it off my website. And what this is a regular expression that basically looks for anything that is not like a standard character. So we're gonna like try to find some, and it looks like I don't have any, so that's good. That's good about that. Now what we want to do is we've got this clean text document right here. What we want to do is save this. We're going to save this as our file because we can also use this for smash words as well. So I'm going to save this right now. So now that we've got a cleaned up text document, what we need to do is any special characters like the curled quotes, the curled single quotes, M dashes, N dashes, we have to replace those with the HTML entity name codes. And what that does is that'll make sure on any e-reader that they can read our fancy quotes. So the first thing we do on my website, you can pull up the actual text for the fancy quotes, and you hit Control H, and you find what, and you replace it with an HTML entity name code, which kind of looks a little something like that. Like that's a left double quotation mark, and it's going to replace it with this. So replace all there, okay. And I'll show you what it looks like. It kind of looks like a big mess inside your text editor. Like here's one down here, but don't worry, it'll show up nice and clean in any web browser and e-reader. So we want to do the same kind of thing for write fancy quotes. And we're going to go through and any of the fancy characters, and you have to be real meticulous and careful when you do this. But you can always go back if you make a mistake. It's no problem. So now that we've got the HTML entity name codes, we need to get paragraph tags wrapped around every single line of text. And that's actually pretty easy. You just pull up the Find and Replace window, and you make sure you're on regular expression, and you paste this thing. This is a regular expression. It basically goes through each line, and what you want to replace it with is paragraph tags. And this is another regular expression, and it'll wrap everything with paragraph tags. And you want to make sure, double check, make sure the paragraph tags, starts off as just like less than, greater than P, and then you come over here and it's got the slash in front of it, pretty basic stuff. But you want to make sure you didn't screw up that step, because it'll cause problems inside the XHTML. One more thing we got to do, we got to go through and remember all the the bold, italic underlines we put in, the placeholder tags like the QQQ. We've got to replace that with the actual XHTML code, and that we're going to use some more regular expressions to do that. It just makes life easy. So what this is going to do, it's going to find any of those placeholder tags, and it's going to replace it with the proper XHTML code. So we just hit replace all there, and you want to make sure, double check it, go through it. You want to make sure like the span tags got properly wrapped around like the text that you want italicized, bold, or underlined.